lucky to live in a beautiful neighborhood in Vancouver, British Columbia, where the plants bloom almost all year round. And what I've noticed on my morning walks is that not all gardens are the same. Some are lush and beautiful, and others are droopy and diseased. A master gardener is someone who knows that in order to create a beautiful, thriving garden, you need to remove any weeds by the roots. Humans are a lot like plants. In order for us to thrive, we need to have the weeds in our life taken out by the roots. And yet many of us are simply mowing over the weeds in our life, and the same problems and sufferings predictably pop up again and again. Today, I invite you into this conversation of exploring the weeds in your life and asking yourself, where did it all begin? And more importantly, how you can begin to remove the weeds by the roots as well. Understanding the weeds in my life brought me back to a night that at the time I thought was just going to be a normal night out with a friend. Just come in for a few minutes. He was so good looking and charming and convincing that I said, okay, fine, I'll come in, but just for a few minutes, and then I should go. I took off my seatbelt, I opened the car door, and I knew I wasn't supposed to be there. And from the outside looking in, there was nothing telling me anything was off. So I ignored my gut. And as I pulled one foot in front of the other, it felt like I had a ton of bricks in my legs. Every cell in my body was screaming, no. But I kept walking. Within a minute of walking through the door, he pinned me down. He put his hands over my wrists, and without me being able to move or fight back, I blacked out. The last thing I remember of that night was him looking at me with a smirk on his face, saying, watch you go tell your friends I raped you. Those words silenced me. I couldn't tell anyone what happened. Did he really rape me? Would anyone even believe me? Did I even believe myself? These questions circled in my mind for weeks after. And this was the moment I stopped trusting myself, my intuition, and ultimately when the patterns of self-betrayal began in my life. It all started the night I was raped. It took me a decade to fully understand the impact of unhealed trauma and how it is actually the root cause of all suffering. When we experience a trauma, we're left with an image, a thought, a body sensation, and an emotion that becomes frozen in time. This happens because we're unable to process and fully feel the experience. And this now becomes our new reference point for the decisions that we make that go against our true self, our true nature, and ultimately when the weeds in our life begin to take over and the self-betrayal begins. I started dating someone eventually. I liked him, but I didn't love him. When we first met, I told him I wasn't ready for a relationship. But he was so persistent, and he didn't take no for an answer. So eventually, I caved in. Because my mind kept telling me he was consistent. He loved me. He was trustworthy. He checked all of the things off of the list of the person that I thought I should be with. I remember the night he told me he loved me, looking over at me in the cab and saying, "Tell me what you're thinking." "I'm not thinking anything." I love you too. This is when I betrayed myself again, buying into a lie and playing a role. And this is when I started to ask myself, is this it? Is this what love is supposed to feel like? As the relationship continued for almost a decade, I got really good at checking things off of the list. Get married, get a house, get a dog, go traveling together, start a business. But I kept asking myself, is this it? I look around at my friends and I wonder, are they really as happy as they seem? Or are they pretending as much as me? No matter what circumstances you find yourself in, at one point or another, most of us have learned to settle over the years and even pretend. We settle in our relationships, our careers, and with pursuing our dreams. We settle for fear that if we wait for and pursue the 100% of what we truly desire, it may not come, or maybe it doesn't even exist. This is the trap of settling. It starts off with saying yes one day when your intuition says no, and suddenly that single moment in time can turn into a lifetime that doesn't quite feel like it's it. It doesn't quite feel the way that you thought it should. If you're asking yourself, is this it? In a relationship, a career, or anywhere else in your life, the fact that you're asking the question is your answer. Every time we settle for something less than what we truly desire, we betray ourselves. We step away from ourselves, and in the process, we can lose ourselves. And over time, it turns into a slow poison that drains our energy and prevents us from feeling the way that we truly want to feel. So my question for you is, where have you been asking yourself, is this it? Where have you been betraying yourself? And where have you been living a lie and pretending? And just breathe. It's easy to mask the discomfort of settling with some quick fixes, to numb and distract ourselves from looking at the things that may not be working in our lives. If you're in a relationship, it might be the quick fix of taking a photo with your partner somewhere beautiful, smiling and posting it online, and getting all the likes flowing in, and that hit of dopamine as people comment, couple goals. When the truth is, most of the trip you weren't even getting along. And if you're not in a relationship, the quick highs of having casual sex to avoid dealing or feeling a void inside, or the constant act of swiping right on an app as you wait for the notification of a stranger's message to pop into your inbox. Or when we turn to drugs, alcohol, and intense experiences, it can feel good in the moment. The problem is the cravings become stronger and you can become addicted. Not unlike a parasite. Not unlike something that is feeding off of you. A parasite continues to grow bigger and stronger off of your weaknesses and insecurities and the areas of your life you're not willing to face. So instead of dealing with them, you continue to reach for the quick fix. And it keeps you coming back for more until you addicted. Addicted to food, addicted to sex, addicted to pornography or phone, instant gratification, external validation, drugs and alcohol. And the simple maintaining of the quick fixes can become a full-time job. Not to mention the addiction factor. Most people don't think that they're addicted to social media. And yet we spend an average of 2 hours and 22 minutes on it a day. We're addicted to a social media high just like a drug. And this is where we can get programmed in and drawn in to what I like to call fabricated happiness. Fabricated happiness is what we've been programmed to think that happiness is from the media. And then we've been programmed to maintain our image in person and online. Fabricated happiness are all of the parts that you've selected from different parts of your life and polished up and put on a silver platter for the world to see. And it is the very thing that is bringing us as humanity further and further away from true happiness. So my question for you is, where have you been fabricating happiness in your life and pretending the weeds don't exist? Consider this. If unhealed trauma is the root cause of all suffering, and everything else is simply a symptom of it, wouldn't it make the most amount of sense to go to the roots and pull them out? I invite you to explore times of acts of settling, the quick fixes, and fabricated happiness in your life, and ask yourself, when did it all begin? A gardener doesn't look at a flower that's not blooming and say, what is wrong with this flower? Instead, they look at the environment and what is preventing it from blooming. If unhealed trauma is the root cause of all suffering, I invite you to be courageous enough to go to the roots and seek support to dissolve your traumas, rather than simply mowing over the weeds. And you may find, too, that when you do, the weeds will have no environment in your garden to grow, and you will only have space to bloom.